Well, here we are again, babe.
Here we go.
Another week.
Yep. I think I don't know how many we've recorded so far, but
Me neither.
it's been fun.
Yeah. And we're in this new era
I
of our
know.
podcast where we have
Yeah.
guests now. Never in a million years we thought we were going to have guests.
Yeah.
We were planning to just do it all
I mean,
ourselves.
we've had guests, but this is just like top level guests.
I mean, when we started the podcast, that's what I mean.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even think
We were
about
like,
that.
well,
We just started the podcast.
yeah. But here we are.
Here we are.
And we do have a special guest today. Sir Jonathan Emery. And I had to sir because he's a gentleman and he's a fantastic human being. We got a chance to meet him in person. We knew him through social media.
I didn't really know him at all.
No, because you barely got into what I'm doing now.
But yeah, Jonathan, welcome to Doing It Raw Relationship Goals.
Welcome,
Yes.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is going to be great. So I'm excited to share anything I can value to you guys and your audience.
Of course, of course. And I
Yeah, this
appreciate
is
your
kind of
time.
like a little twist, huh?
What? What you mean?
Having Jonathan.
Yes? Well, I'm sure. I don't know what you mean by twist, but
You'll see.
okay. You will see. And I will see too. Apparently. I guess my director notes went out the window just now.
Yeah, because I don't know anything either.
I just took over.
She just took over. But yeah, we met Jonathan back in May, if I recall, right? And we met through mutual friendships, right? And mutual business alliances as well. And we just hit it off. And this is a great gentleman, and he's here to share. I guess now I see what you mean by
Yeah,
what'd you say?
now
Twist?
see? Yeah.
given the topic of our relationship. And he has a keen eye into something that I'm sure he, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, you hoped and wished that you could have avoided, right? And anybody who is in a relationship hopes to avoid. I am one of those who was like, I want to do everything I can to avoid this. Um, but yeah, to without further ado, I want to give you and allow you the moment to go ahead and introduce yourself, what you do, and what brought you here, and how we met. Your perspective of meeting us as well.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we met that night at the dinner table for a little bit, and we had a little chat, and I think we were more excited to know more about each other the next day, right? Or the day after when we were speaking, I guess, so we can hear each other. Now, I don't remember you guys being in there the whole time when I was up there. So I'm like, I said something, and I'm like, "Where's the relationship coaches at?" Because they weren't I didn't see you. If I didn't see you there,
Oh,
you were somewhere else. So, but yeah, short chat, and then this is what it turned into. So, I
yeah,
podcast, you guys have a podcast, and I know you're in the relationships, and not that that's my direction I share all the time, but it's definitely, I find that a lot of people want to hear, especially more for me, it's more the women's side, to see how men handle going through what I went through for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but that's what I hear a lot. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it was great to meet you guys in person. I'm looking forward to seeing you again, hopefully in the next year or so,
yep,
and connect in person again. And so, because virtual is fun, but it's not always the best way to do it.
yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
And, where would you like me to begin?
Where shall he begin? Well, I guess we can start off with how you relate to relationships, the topic, right? And I know in that front, from what we learned of each other when we met live, is that you went through a divorce, right? Meaning that you had a relationship, some things went awry, and XYZ things didn't happen, and XYZ things happened. So I'm more of a student right now at the moment to see what transpired throughout the relationship that led to that moment, what you learned, and possibly lessons that if you could do all over again that you will implement and hope to go ahead and maybe could have rectified the situation to a certain extent.
Sure. Um, so I'll begin with you, like my past as growing up as a child.
Hmm.
Um, my parents were married, and I realized that my dad's side, for whatever reason, most of them got divorced along the way. And I always told myself, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't want that to happen. Never going to have it happen. That was just how I brought myself up, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until the age of 19 or 20, I moved out. I was living by myself. My sister, a year younger than me, decided to join the Navy. And um, my mom came over and told me she's leaving my dad.
Mm.
And we found out that they were divorced a long time ago, like when we were kids. So for whatever
Oh wow.
reason, they decided to live together and keep us in the house and make it work. Now, I do remember at a time as a kid, I was with my mom and my sister for a little bit, but then we were back with my dad. But I was never told they divorced or anything like that. So whatever happened there, I have no idea. Um, but it was a shock, right? So here I am, 19, 20 years old, and my sister's just a year younger than me, and she didn't know either, but everybody else around us knew. So it was weird. And so, my mom asked, hey, can you help me move some things? I tried, I couldn't do it. And I just left the house at the time when she was trying to move out. So that kind of threw a wrench in my side, not knowing that was already taking place. And, it made me even more want to not to get in that position,
Yeah.
growing up. So that's how I felt like I was presenting myself through my relationship. I wound up meeting, like I'll refer to her as my kid's daughter, kid's mother. Some about, I don't know about you guys or whatever. Some about just saying X doesn't sound right to me. It just sounds like you kind of cut them off the way. You know what I mean? It's not that we have great communication now either, but it just doesn't sound right to me. So, anyways, so my kid's mother and I met when we were very young. I was around the age of 18, 19, right? And she was a few years younger than me. And we just held a relationship until I think it was probably 6 years later. I wound up, proposing to her.
Mm.
I want to say it was around 26, 25, 26. I got married. We got married. So anyways, when we went and got divorced, it would have been anniversary year 15.
Oh
And
wow.
um, so to me, it was a long marriage, right? A lot of people can't make it past the year 7.
Yeah.
So that's when things are, everybody's like, oh, it's getting a little rocky now. I don't know. I don't know if people make that up or whatever, but I can't say we experienced that, to be honest with you. And what got us to the divorce, I want to say a lot of things just happened to unfold, and then we just didn't. I want to say that we didn't have great communication.
Mm.
Maybe we didn't have great communication throughout the whole marriage, in a sense. And so I always say I was stuck in a mold, right? I I was at the same place for 20 years, so that was the first thing. I lost my job after 20 years
Mm.
before the word divorce ever came to me. And so I had steady income. I had steady, place of working all the time. And they decided to close doors. And I guess that kind of led into things a little bit, because where was I going to go next? I wasn't sure. To me, it was more of an opportunity to kind of pursue something that I always dreamed of, wanted to try to do something different, even though I didn't know what that is yet. I wasn't
Hmm.
sure. Um, so that kind of, I guess, threw a wrench in the side a little bit too, because I got severance and everything, but it wasn't going to last forever. So ultimately, I wound up doing life insurance, totally different, not a steady 9 to 5 income, but I knew the guy and he liked me for who I was as a human. And so I said, sure, let's give it a shot. What else am I going to do at the moment? So I did. I started to learn what I could share with others as entrepreneurs. Um, and I started to create YouTube videos and try to, provide information to teach other people about it. And it was around the COVID time, so the kids were home
Mm-hmm.
every once in a while during school. Sometimes it was like a half school kind of deal. I don't know, it was weird, but so I spent a lot of time trying to learn everything and do it all. And yes, I'm not the fastest guy to make moves on anything, but I'll give it a shot and I'll learn something as I go. Uh, what it did was it eventually allowed me to meet other people. I did sell something. So let's just say it was May of 2020 that I was done my job. Now I was
Mm-hmm.
one of the last three to leave the building because I was in the logistics area, and everybody else in production was gone like October the year before. So I had to be like one of the guys that make sure like this huge manufacturing facility was stripped out. There was like nothing left.
Oh
It
wow.
was crazy. Yeah, the last things to go before me was the forklifts because we had to make sure everything was moved.
Yeah.
Um, so that seeing all that and everything was another way that impacted me. But I wound up going ahead and creating these YouTubes, and I wound up selling a life insurance policy in January after that May, right? So it took time, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I was able to do that, and getting that check for the first time was great. I could look at that and said, if I can do two of these a month, then I could be doing well over what I was making where I was, right? Um, Not knowing in that moment that things were shaky at home, like it felt like it, but I wasn't so sure what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, their mother decided to get a job, kind of like part time, and it was at the school, and so she was doing that. So she was bringing in income that really she wasn't bringing in before. She had some side stuff along the way while we were married, um, to support the kids and everything. But we made it like one of the things that she would be home with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and so now they're 12 and 15. They're old enough for everything else, right? So they don't need any of that. But back then, they were just getting past that age where they really didn't, I guess, in a sense, need the care.
Yep.
Um, so she was doing that. So and you two can take this however you want. Maybe we switched roles a little bit, but I also felt like what I was trying to do was try to build something, and it took time, and maybe again, communication lacked. Maybe somebody else just didn't see that. They didn't see an opportunity. Maybe they weren't supportive. It was more get the 9 to 5, get the job, get the steady income, get
Yeah.
the insurance and all that kind of stuff, right? um, Feel free to cut in here anywhere you want,
Yeah,
but
let
yeah,
me
go ahead.
let me ask you some, or let
Absolutely.
me say something. You say communication a lot, and we know that that's like the biggest thing with couples, the communication. But in a way, like when you look at it, how do you feel that you guys communicated if you did?
Yeah, me looking back at everything, I think we lacked it, to be honest with you. It's basically, this is what we're doing this weekend. This is where the kids are going. This is, all that kind of stuff, right? And to
Mm-hmm.
sit down and have like what I know now, like to have deep conversations and everything and understand, are we on the same track? Are we doing this together? Or are we doing it separately and we're going to beat each other up? Right. Like that, it didn't exist. I
It
don't
didn't
believe it
happen.
existed at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because like I mean, we have that little, I guess that little it happened to us where there was a moment where he wasn't working
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I had a part-time job. And I think it was for a year, right?
Yeah.
Um where that happened to us where I was working and he wasn't. And I
Hold
think
on. Hold on. You've been telling her kids the whole time I was working.
I just never, like, that's the thing, because we were always talking about stuff that it never felt like, oh, I'm bringing in the money and he's not. Like, I never even realized that until years later when he mentioned it, like, you were the one paying the bills for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? That's true.
Yeah, because we went through the same period. it was 2021, where I kind of quit my job and I was like, I need to pursue. Well, I need to. The term that I was using at the time was fix me because I was just so stressed. I was at the heaviest I've ever been weight wise. And at the point that at the work, I was making the most money I've ever made at that point. Not working more, but it's a complete. I was just so stressed out of work. I tried everything, praying, waking up earlier, meditating, all the stuff that people on social media kind of like say that this is my morning routine before I have a stressful day. And I tried that, and it was just not giving. It was not doing anything until I decided to quit. And I was still telling her like, okay, I can pursue this, I can pursue this, I can pursue that. Never in a million years did we ever think we were going to pursue what we're doing now. Because I started with video editing,
Mm-hmm.
and we bought an entire PC again. I just left my job, and all of a sudden, like we bought a PC for me to be able to do that. So she believed, right? It was leading up to that point. I was constantly telling her how I felt. Like, hey, babe, it just work. This is what I'm going through mentally. I tried this, I tried that, and it's just not giving. And of course, she had her reservations. So what are we gonna do for the bills? What are we gonna do for X, Y, Z?
Yeah, it wasn't like I was like, yes, let's go for it. Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
No, like, obviously, I was concerned. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do? We
Yeah.
have all these kids, and, like, but it was that constant communication of even the smallest things of, like, I feel this way today. You know what? Today, I'm just like not going for it. I'm like really concerned and stuff like that. Um, but from what I'm hearing from your story a little bit, I feel like it happens so much, Jonathan, where women have this expectation of men to just provide and provide and provide. And if they don't, then it's weird.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, why are you not providing? I'm providing, you're not providing. Like we get into these I guess like little fights of over like I'm doing all of this and you're like kind of we always say like don't keep track of what you're
Really
doing.
compete.
Yeah, like competing against each other because that will just you will definitely not make it. So that's kind of what I guess what I was hearing and I don't know, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that something that you feel kind of happened?
Yes, and I'll be honest with you. Like working for 20 years at the same place, I never thought providing. Like I never thought like like until in that moment. And I'll tell you the story a little bit, but I didn't know like men were providers, protectors. Like those words were not mentioned to me. It was just like
Mm.
this is what I'm doing. This is just who I believe I am, right? And now
Mm,
I'm just like in this moment of wow, I've been doing this for 20 years, basically 18, 19 years old, and here I am almost 40, right? And what am I going to like this is new to me. Like and so it's like everything was kind of like in a weird alignment, like it's like midlife crisis in a sense, right?
Hmm.
And you're shifting gears. Yes, you have two kids to support and then, yeah, um but what opportunities are out there? What, who are you really, right? And so you're like again, I'm outside of this mold. I'm not getting up, I'm not working 60, 80 hour weeks, like I was doing a lot of overtime for most part towards a lot when the kids weren't born, to kind of build things up, and then sometimes when they were born. So I missed some time when my son was born, and then when my daughter got born, uh I kind of stepped back a little bit because I realized how much time was missed working all the overtime.
Hmm.
But yeah, and for me, I feel like that period where when I lost my job, I feel like the communication was more of like passing in a hallway kind of deal, as people would say. Like you just say something, but
Your
you
like
don't s-
roommates.
roommates.
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
what?
we
Yeah,
always
yeah,
say that.
yeah, yeah.
Roommates.
You say something and you're like, what? And then you just keep going about your way. So it's like you throw it off. You don't sit down and hey, look, we should have a time, we should have a day, and let's just talk about this and like let's focus on this. Um, there are moments that it wasn't about the relationship, but other things that we would try to sit down and talk about, and it just it just wasn't working. And it was nothing to do with, all this coming up, but sometimes it was just not there. So I feel like it was just like this storm just brewed, and it just things just all collided together in a sense, and unfortunately and
Yeah.
fortunately in a way, things just happened. um but yeah, so like looking back, I believe the communication part is huge, and now I know as a person after going through all that, like I could see that, and I believe, and that's one thing I would love to carry from here on out. That's one thing I would love to carry, with just the podcasting part and with my kids and stuff, and like, hey, anything ever comes up, share it with me. Like, I'm not gonna judge you in any way, whether it's something outside. We hear all these people with trauma and stuff all the time, right? So if
Yeah.
there's something that's going on, sit down and tell me, right? And we'll figure this out together. Like, I don't hide it deep down or whatever. Like, I don't want that. So I do remind them every once in a while, my kids, like whatever it is, say something, because I can't dig it out of them all the time. I don't know everything that's going on. Currently, I get them 7 days, every 7 days, so I don't
Hmm.
know what's happening those 7 days that I don't have them. Right.
Yeah.
So even if you have I don't know, it's a quick, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm great. Day was fine. And I'm like, okay, it's less than a minute phone call every once in a while.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of hard to get things out of them, but I get that. So yeah, so communication is like a big thing. And it sounds like you guys kind of lack that a little bit there. And I love how you shared that, Bree, of, the example, the experience that you guys went through too. Because it shows that things do tend to flop sometimes, and you
Mm-hmm.
gotta kind of have to accept that for a fact, right? And you have to believe in him. You have to lean into him a little bit and say, you got this, you can keep moving forward. And I see that now, like that's who I would want next to me. Like they're going to be on
Hmm.
we're on the same page, right? um, the one I love is Alex Ramosi and his wife now. He says,
Nice meeting him.
you could have left me, I had nothing or whatever, and she said I would have lived under a bridge with you, right? And that's, to me, like that's the partner that you want, right?
Yeah.
So it's a do or die. And for me, like even, get married, the vows, at the time I wasn't really religious, but the vows meant everything to me. Like I'm in it for the long run. um but so communication is number one. And so would you like me to keep going on with the where I'm at?
Yeah. I guess there's so many symptoms that lead to couples to divorce, and there's no one. It's just a multitude of symptoms that lead to that inevitable breakup, right? Communication being one big one. Um, of course, job loss. I think age is a big factor that we don't even realize. That I've kind of for our relationship, it's something that is always in the back of my head as a fear, and the fact that I'm the younger one. Even though I look like the older one, but I'm the younger one, and she's a younger looking one. However, expectations is another one. Unspoken expectations,
Yeah.
and not having the ability to temper said expectations. I'm not too sure if it was discussed. Maybe it was subconscious between you and your kid's mom as to like, hey, what do you expect by the time we're this age?
Mm.
Like, hey, I have this unforeseen circumstance that I just lost my job. How are we gonna get through it?
Mhm.
Type deal. Um, and I get it as a man because I do see myself as a provider and a protector. I'm like, don't worry, I got it. And that's how we want to like just run through it like a bull type deal.
Mm-hmm.
However, if she doesn't know where I'm going, it's like, well, you're not telling me, dude. You're not telling me where you're going, so how can I support you in any way?
Yeah.
What how do I fit myself into that picture? So there's just so many symptoms, right? Like expectations being a big one. When it comes to age, just expectations as to like by this age I want to be at this point in my life. And if there's anything that moves me away from that, like losing a job, like that vision of set life at that point going down to crumble, I have to now take matters into my own hands. And again, subconsciously, we start seeing the people around us that could be in the way. And sometimes we think that's our own spouse. And that is a big fear of ours. Because also at the same time, your kids were older by that point, right? So they were not as heavily dependent on mom or dad. They were more independent than ever, which technically the time that you were kind of investing into your children growing up got freed up. However, that time wasn't allocated to the relationship, it was allocated somewhere else, again, subconsciously. Um, and it could have been with the overtime, right? It could have been with your spouse with the side hustles that you all were doing, so on and so forth. But when it came to like, okay, what are we working on together? It was like, well, technically, it was only the kids to a certain extent, and now the kids don't need us. They're like independent as much as possible. Um, so yeah, it's one of those things where I just learn from different couples who have been through certain criteria, and that's why I'm here as a student as well. It's you being a man who have gone through something that I haven't gone through personally, and God forbid we ever go through it. Um, but learning those dynamics as to like, okay, these are areas that you already know. Again, with hindsight being 2020, you know, like, okay, that we could have improved this, and maybe, right? No one can predict, but maybe that could have prevented it. Maybe that would have led to a different outcome, so on and so forth. Um, anything you wanna
Yeah,
add?
I mean, there is so much. Like, there's just like so much. But I think that something that we kind of, you know, talk to our couples about is because you mentioned like, yeah, like you say something and then it's like, okay, like you just keep going about your day and stuff like that, and that happens all the time, right? So we're like, no, like this is the time. Like I feel like a lot of couples, just because we have kids, right, we're like, you know what, I'm busy with the kids, we don't have time for this. It's like, you know how like you need to schedule an appointment to see your doctor, but you're like, I don't have time. Like there is no time. Like when am I gonna schedule it?
So, to add to that, don't lose your train of thought. Okay, but I also don't want to lose mine. Like she mentioned, the point of scheduling, but I don't have time. If you don't have time to visit a doctor, what is the natural outcome over time to your health, right? That costs your health because you're not checking in on yourself. Same thing with the relationships. You don't have the time.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm like, that's kind of like we tell our couples, this it's a priority for you. If you don't have that foundation of communication at the beginning, like start working on it now. Like as soon as you realize, you know what, things are not going, like things are okay, but they're kind of like, it's kind of weird. Like we're not really talking about stuff. Don't be like, okay, I'll figure it out tomorrow. Okay, next week. Oh, you know what? We have this coming up. Let's do it after that. It's like, no, 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 no. It's like emergency stuff. Like you are about to get surgery. You like need to get on it now. So, do you think, or what do you think went through your head as you started like noticing that you guys weren't communicating enough or even at all?
Yeah. So I probably didn't see any of that till after the fact.
Mm,
Looking back, I will share with you. I think that there was probably things that were meant to be said, just wasn't said because people, her and me, might have thought that we would make the other person upset, right? Which could happen, sure. But to make them upset or actually understand what you're trying to say has to happen so that you guys are on the same page, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
you can figure it out from there. And so, like, that is those deep conversations. Again, or not again, I don't think I said this, but I was on a path slowly too prior to losing the job, like doing the self-help books and all that kind of stuff. So, like, I was trying to grow as a
Hmm.
person too. I don't believe she was on the same page in all that area either. So there was a collision as where there as well. Um, but yeah, so I say looking back because Uh, it was January of that year before she mentioned the word divorce to me that, things were shaky at the house and I was trying to figure things out and there was something else going on. Right. And, I seen things, behaviors change. I couldn't figure it out. And, I kept my relationship in my relationship, even though I share with you today that we probably didn't share a lot of stuff, communication together to try and work things out. But I never took it somewhere else to
Mm.
share any problems with anybody else. I think somewhere in that year, if it was never brought up to anybody else outside of our relationship, she was probably leaning into other people. Um,
Mm.
I would, and I say should because I know and then I don't know, right? So I don't dive into everything that I wanted to. Um, but yeah, so for me to navigate this course of going through the life changing event, and I, I was listening to a podcast that January, and
I
it's called Dad's Edge. So check it out if you wanted to. It's still there. Yeah, I think he's been
think I've
doing
heard
it for
about it. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I think he's been doing it for like 12 years or whatever. But I was listening to it prior to that year just to see if I could become a better father. Not that saying I was lacking anything, but I wanted to show up differently if I could.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I tuned in that month and I don't know what the episode was about, but they have a membership thing where you can sign up for a month and go on these Zoom calls, whatever, talk about anything in life with these other men that, I don't even know. I never jumped in any of those calls. I did sign up, but I never jumped in any of those calls because I didn't know what was going on at the house. So I tried to value as much time as I could with the kids. To,
Mm-hmm.
not saying it was going to get to the divorce part, but I wasn't sure. So I connected with 4 to 5 men, maybe. Basically like a lifeline kind of deal, right? It was just like text, phone call, messenger, whatever. And some of these guys went through it already. Some of these guys are going through it. Uh, but it was a way to share what I was experiencing to somebody that wasn't going to judge me in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because I didn't lean on it. I want to say I didn't really have those friends around me that would kind of support me, especially a guy, right? It was always, and I lost a lot of people after the divorce. Like they were around me because we had kids. They were around me because she was friends with that, the mother or
Yeah.
the wife on the other side or whatever, right? And then it's just like boom, gone. So my circle is like this big and it's like this, and slowly it's building now, but it's totally different circle than what it was. And so I share that sometimes it's always better to connect with strangers. I I won't mention his name. We can discuss later. But I ran into this guy on there, and you might know him. But I consider him like a coach, right? And so it got me to, I think it was towards the end of April. He had this masculinity course, and I'm like, the is this right? We know now, right? I know what masculine and feminine energy is, but and he's like, just take it, it might help, and figure things out. I'm like, all right. So I signed up. It was a 4-week program. It was like once a week we would meet. It was me, another guy, and him. And the other guy was still married. I guess he just wanted to understand things. I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the first 2 weeks I was bawling. Like, it was getting, things were just even worse and worse at the house. Like, we weren't really talking. There, again, behaviors were worse than I've ever seen. And so the first 2 sessions, I forget what the topics were really about, but yeah, I was bawling. And so then the third and fourth session came around and I had more composure. I wasn't crying. I was listening more. And so he was telling me, he told me exactly that. He's like, you sound better, you look better. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a shift in things. I don't know if it was the course or whatever, or me accepting that, the worst could come. And I'm like, I can live with it. I can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And, I do remember some of the stuff we learned, like the communication part. Like, as a man, we were more logical. As a woman, they're more on their feelings and emotions and stuff. And
Yep.
so like we collide. And so if we don't know that barrier of how to mirror each other, how to express to each other 3 times, like, this is what you should be doing because this is how I'm thinking about it, then we might collide forever. And so, like, those are like the things that we were kind of learning. And when it got to, she said the word divorce to me. Like, I was at the point, like, I'm done. And I basically said that. Like, I was
Mm,
tired of trying to figure everything out because nothing was being shared or told to me. I was just me seeing things, finding things, and stuff like that. And so that kind of got like that, and like that helped me. Like that these 4 or 5 men helped me lean in a little bit and not become one of those 10 men that commit suicide every day from divorce, not knowing
mm,
that was a statistic at the time. uh, but who knows, who knows where it could have went. I don't know, but it didn't go that route. So, like, and I'll share, if somebody is listening to this or watching this and they're heading in that direction or they are going through it, just reach out to somebody, whether it's you two or me or somebody else, just to even talk, right? And
yep.
it might not be what you want to hear, but it's going to help you lead you hopefully in the right direction of becoming better. Uh, that's my experience as going through this, just the divorce part, right? And then I'll be honest with you, after I said those words, even though I was heartbroken a little bit, I mean, I held on till the end, right?
Hmm.
So there was,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I believe the word tired, that's kind of like the key, like, hey, I'm done. And based on what you've shared, right, privately and even in this podcast, is you tried to do everything you could on your end that you knew you could do, right? And what you saw from the other side is that they were not doing the same. And there could be like if they were here in the room, they might say like, "Oh, I tried this XYZ stuff as well, and I didn't feel so on and so forth." The word tired is a big one as well, and it's also something that I've communicated with my wife. Like, hey, the way that the mind works, it relates to stuff. It's not just like we're gonna experience. Yes, we may have different experiences as time goes on in our relationship. However, the way that our mind kind of relates to the feeling, it kind of goes to the same feeling. So one thing that I expressed to my wife is like, hey, I may get tired of my job. It may lead to this feeling that I'm just feeling undervalued, and the pay is just not fulfilling anymore. I want to pursue something else type deal. And she may come to me like, well, I'm tired of going through that again and again. This is, I don't know, the 10th time we've gone through it. Um, right? I work on myself to be able to kind of maintain that, uh, to kind of like, hey, well, I don't just want to be selfish. I know that I have kids to maintain, so on and so forth, and a household. But that word tired is kind of like it's scary because you don't know that it's gonna how sneaky it is. Especially if you're trying to do better and improve, and it's not being reciprocated to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because at that point, people just become complacent and they're just waiting for a period of time. The reason I say that is because I don't know if you've heard this part of our story. At the very beginning, I was in that space. I was just, I'm tired. I'm tired of working through this. I'm tired of trying to do XYZ, and it's not just not budging. Um, because yeah, early on in our relationship, I was planning to end it with my wife. This was before marriage, this was before kids as well. We were just dating, and I was like I'm tired. I'm done trying. The only thing that kept us going during that period, funnily enough, is we had I guess financial obligations to meet. Meaning that we had a vacation coming up that we brought her along, and an event afterwards as well. So I was like, you know what? Let's just stick it out till then, and then I'll end things. But it sneaks
That
up
was
on you.
the immature side of him back then.
Yeah, that was the immature side of me.
Gotcha.
Um, but even then, because we've had similar arguments, are you willing to be open and vulnerable right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Just this morning, I told my wife,
That's crazy because I wanted to talk about that too. So yeah, go ahead.
literally this morning, I told my wife, like, hey, how come you've been talking back to me like if everything I've told you is annoying or annoying you? Um, and I did it in a frame of curiosity, like, hey, is there anything going on? Um, and she didn't tell me anything, but just the mere fact of me having the, because there's other men listening to this, hopefully, just having the cojones to call out my wife, it puts her in a position. I know it immediately puts a lot of people in a position of like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? I don't know if maybe your mental reaction to that was like, what are you doing calling out your wife, dude? That's just gonna get you in trouble. You're gonna piss her off, so on and so forth. And believe me, my mind went there, and it still goes there from time to time. When it comes to like, hey, I need to tell my wife something, and it's gonna make her feel a certain way. At the same time, though, if you don't, I'm not allowing my wife the opportunity to see what she's doing and how it can affect our relationship. And if she goes the route of like feeling called out, so on and so forth, then so be it. We'll deal with that. That just technically proof that something is going on. That for me to say something for her to be bothered that way, um, then definitely something is going on. Uh, and the other side is I want to call it out as soon as possible before it leads to something worse and maybe a deeper conversation or maybe an escalated thing that I want to prevent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about it because of the whole communication that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because most couples, when something, okay, like he's feeling like, yeah, she's being snappy at me for everything, like, and I have. And most couples are like, they're just like, oh, whatever, like she'll get over it, you know? And it doesn't go away. It just gets worse and it just gets worse. Um, at the beginning when we started working our with when we started working on our relationship, it was like I would get very defensive when he would ask something like that. That's why a lot of men are so scared to call out their wives, because we are emotional beings. Like we just, we're in our feelings and we're like, excuse me, like it's all you, like you did this or you did that, and we just start pointing fingers. And when he said that, it's funny because I had already like that this morning thought to myself, you know what, something is going on because the connection that we have, it's kind of being disturbed. I've felt it for a couple of days now, and I'm like, and it again, this is something that we have worked on, so it's not like it just happens out of nowhere.
Yeah, to notice.
Yeah, like we have worked on this to the point where like now we notice. Like you said, like, oh, I had no idea until it was happening, right? Like we've worked on it so that we notice when things are happening. So I had noticed in this morning I was already planning to be like, okay, after the podcast recording, we need to talk about it. But then he called it out and I was like,
Because we were talking about it now. To relate it to something that a lot of people will relate to, right? Would you not notice if $500 were missing from your bank account?
You would.
You would, right? And what would you do? Like,
You would find out where it went, who took it.
exactly, what's going on? Who took it?
Hmm.
Who are you calling? The bank? Who else are you calling? Oh, I don't know, wherever it came from, right? You're doing as much as possible to find out what happened and how to prevent it from happening again. Same deal when it comes to relationships. We see when something is being kind of withdrawn from a relationship, and we're like, where's this withdrawal coming from? What's what happened, what led to it, so on and so forth, and how can we prevent it as much as possible next time. And if it doesn't, then how can we work through it? And this is one thing, excuse me. This is the thing that is maybe also something sneaky that gets couples is they might be dealing with what they think is the same issue 20 years deep. Meaning, let's say we've gone through 20 years of relationship. Right now we have 12, 13. How many do we have? 12, right?
12.
12 years of
Almost
relationship.
13.
Almost 13. So we're on our way to the 20 mark, right? And hopefully we make it all the way to the 60 until God calls us himself. Um, but I believe one sneaky thing is feeling like they're dealing with the same issues at year 20, maybe at year 30, 40, whatever it may be, in the sense that because our love languages, I believe, kind of stay the same through time. They may change here and there, but for men, it's like physical touch and words of affirmation. For women, it's primarily quality time and acts of service. Well, for you, it's gifts. I mean, yours is everything.
I think I have all 5.
Yeah, we all do, but her 5 are
God bless you,
powerful.
man.
And that's why he's
And they
meant to do
shift.
this.
And they shift, right? So
Yeah.
let's say we're at year 20, and because when it comes to a relationship, it's not something that you just do once and it's just you're set. It's constant work all the time.
Yeah.
And if I feel at year 20, she makes a comment that makes me feel undervalued, right? Which is the opposite of words of affirmation. And there's a lack of touch. Being an emotional being, I could be like, I'm tired of dealing with this at year 20. Every, I always have to deal with this, and I don't want to deal with it again in the future. People can be like, well, she's not, we're not supposed to be women together, right? You start going down this rabbit hole of things like, I have 20 years of me dealing with this, and I don't want to deal with it any longer. Her side could be also the acts of service. I still have to tell him to do this XYZ. And he, even though he does it, sometimes he doesn't. And they cling on to that negative feeling. And then they just go back on the track record of how many times they felt that feeling again and again. And they cling on to that. And I think that's something that sneaks up on couples. And I want to prevent that from happening because I know that we will have conversations because we're not perfect, where she's still going to be talking to me a certain way that I don't like at year 20. And I'm going to call her out again. And she's gonna call me out on stuff that I do too, right? Like when it comes to quality time or whatever it may be. She's gonna call me out on it. And we have to be careful. And this is kind of like a warning for couples out there as well who might be feeling a certain way about each other, or who are looking to prevent feeling a certain way about each other, is that, hey, even though you may be in year 20, year 30, whatever it may be, just because you feel like you've gone through it 20 or 30 years together and you're dealing with the same quote unquote issue, that doesn't mean it's terms or means for you to be like, let's end it here because it's not going improving. It's learning the fact and accepting that, hey, we might be dealing with the same issues again and again. It's not, yes, let's prevent them as much as possible. However, knowing that we can't, how can we get through them without it interfering into our relationship as much? And that is something that I haven't heard people talk about. Like, hey, this is going to happen at year 20, at year 30, at year 50, because expectations change, right? Life, so on and so forth. And we need to learn how to navigate through all of them.
Yeah, and so I'll go back on the tired in a minute, but to Bree, do you does it make you feel like that he has to keep showing up every day? Like always, like for example, it was kind of shared to me too. It was like the scorecard changes. It's a new slate every day, so he's got today to be his best. And the next day, and then that stacks it all up where he's looking great, right? He's improving, he's getting better, and then you're not going back to all that, but you hold on to the stuff that's happened in the past. You know, I remember when he was doing this. I remember all this happened, and then if he makes one small mistake, you remember all the bad stuff, not the good stuff, right? All the bad stuff, which is probably less than all the good stuff. And you just compile it all together. Going back to what Moises is saying, it all just comes together. So do you feel that?
Honestly, I don't anymore. I used to
Mm-hmm.
when, we were trying to make our relationship better. Um, I think just as human beings, we tend to always look at the negative stuff the most.
Yeah.
Right? Now that it happens, like to me, every day it's not like okay, like like oh, that was yesterday, it doesn't matter. Like no, like now to me every even if there's like let's say his socks are on the floor, right? And I'm already like overwhelmed and the kids are making a mess and I still have to pick up his socks. I get that feeling of like, oh my gosh. But then I always go back to, okay, well, maybe like he was in a rush or, like he hardly leaves his socks on the floor. So it's fine. Because we have been working on that. Like I had to work on this for years. Because at the beginning, yeah, it was like, oh, here goes the socks. So then I would look for something else. Like, oh, he left the towel like on the other rack instead of this rack. And then I would go, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, the fridge is kind of weird because he left his energy drink on top instead of where it goes on the second rack. So that is something that happens to, like, we just do it. And that, again, is something that we worked on that we want to help couples, especially women, because I told one of our couples this, like, I told the girl, like, girl, our brain is like spaghetti. We are thinking about the laundry and about, like, my mother-in-law and, you know, next week we got this and like Friday is 4th of July and like what am I going to cook for dinner next week or what am I going to eat for breakfast tomorrow and like I'm like it goes all over the place.
Yep.
And that is what our brain does with the person we're spending the rest of our life with. Like, well, he did this and he's not doing that. Oh, let me go look for something else that he didn't do. And we start going through that like spaghetti of like all of the little things that wasn't done, but we never go through the things of like, oh, he did this and he did that. Oh, he actually did this and like he took out the trash without me asking or like whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and in the same breath, right? Somebody walked in today. Like my dishwasher has been broken for months, so I got stuff in the sink, right? I just haven't. I'll spend time doing it all at once because I'm doing other stuff all day long. But nobody knows that unless they're going to ask me questions, right? But they
Hmm.
might automatically just think, "Oh, this ain't clean," blah blah blah. That whatever they want to think,
Mm-hmm.
that's up to them. But that's exactly the example I could give. If somebody just showed up unexpected, and you're just sharing, with the socks on the floor and everything like that. So you have to be careful to judge in the moment and just start asking questions. What have you been doing? Why is this not getting done? And stuff like that. Um,
Yeah. It's about meeting your partner with curiosity, not
yes.
criticism.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was gonna say because that's what he taught me at the beginning. Like instead of ask, because okay, like I can ask, I can be like, well, why are your socks on the floor?
Yeah.
Or I can ask, hey, babe, like, are you okay? Like, I noticed you left the socks on the floor. It's very different.
Yeah, and
Eh,
it opens the opportunity that if something is going on, like, oh yeah, this, blah blah blah, something with work, right?
Hmm.
Um, or it could have just been a simple mistake. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Let me go ahead and pick it up. Simple as that. If it does transpire like it's a pattern, then call it out in a curious tone, not so much in a critical tone, because that's the
mm-hmm.
biggest thing. Once it sounds critical and it feels critical to your partner, the walls up.
Yeah.
Like
Would you
walls up.
agree? Like, it's just like,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You automatically put that wall, and there's no communication whatsoever.
Yeah, and because function logically, right? We kind of our intentions are never to hurt, but
Right.
maybe the tone and we're speaking with to someone who's emotional, they read off that tone and they're like, "Well, what do you mean by that?"
Exactly. I know.
And it's just uh it's just crazy how these little tiny things that we do on a daily basis have a tremendous effect over time in your relationship, and they just lead to good or they lead to bad.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. But what did you want to say about something about
Yeah,
tired?
tired. Yeah. So I'll tell you why I said tired, or however you want to take it. But I was done. I was done in a sense because I asked about doing therapy.
Mm,
The other one chose not to. Thought it was different. Like not the thing to do. So so I always say that there was an older black man that I used to work with, and he was into Motown, and he loved sharing stuff about Motown music. And he's like, it takes two, like Sonny and Cher, right? And it does take two. So if the other partner's not showing up in any way, it's not going to happen.
yep.
So that was like one. And then towards that last month or so, I was like, oh, I have to do day nights. I have to like make this work. So I did all that. I tried all that.
Yeah.
That doesn't change anything because somebody along the way, the emotions went somewhere else, and who knows anything else. But it was almost like a shell, right? I was there, but nobody was talking back to me.
Yeah.
They were just letting everything go around them. So that's why I was tired, and I lost 20 pounds going through all that. I could not sleep. There was times when somebody came home early in the morning, late at night, however you want to look at it, that never happened before, especially when you have two kids.
Mm,
So it was just like I can't live like this anymore.
yeah.
And I could have kept going if I wanted to, and I'm glad I didn't because I don't know if she never said it, I don't know what could have happened, right? It's just I was just done. Like I couldn't live like that anymore. And so maybe it was that course, maybe it was the guys I talked to that kind of helped me along the way, and everything just in this everything blew up in the beginning, but maybe everything all blew up and came together in a set, however you want to call it, meshed
Yeah.
together at the
Yeah.
end where it just worked out. Um, and to this day, we really don't talk to each other. It's just through text. And it's just all about the kids right now for me. So that's why I said the word tired in my eyes. I was just
Hmm.
done mentally, physically, everything. I just couldn't handle it anymore.
And touching up on tired, right? And how over time, if you want to go here, let's go ahead and go here. Because to a certain extent, that feeling might, and I may be mistaken here, that feeling was there maybe since you were a kid, in the sense that toward your relationship with your mother. I'm not too sure if your mom ever made you feel that way, like you were doing all this as a kid to improve yourself, do better, so on and so forth. But maybe your mother or your parents never saw it, and they were just like, "Good job, cool, all right."
Say
um,
that again.
your relationship with your mother,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't know if in your past growing up, since your parents were separated, however, you didn't know. I'm not too sure if when you were trying to do best or you had an accomplishment, right? Or you did something for you that made you feel good about you, and you try to present it to your spouse or to your mother since you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like cool story or good job or there was not much.
Just seeking validation.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
I don't know. I wish I could go back and remember stuff like that. I don't know. Like I had never been that person yet to actually sit down and try to figure all that out.
Mm,
But it's possible. I my dad worked at the bar, so he was out almost all night working at the bar, and then he come home, he's tired or whatever. And I don't, we're at school all day, so it was probably most of the time I saw my mom for the most part, right? And you might be right, yeah, and that's why I questioned you again because I'm trying to figure it out too.
Yeah.
Like, there had to be something too. I'm sure there's something on her side and something on my side, right? But if we don't
Yeah.
know that and we can't come together and talk about it, then we'll never figure it out. So going through all this, I've been trying to figure it out too on my end, but I just, for whatever reason, I can't pinpoint like that one time or whatever that kind of set it all up. But um, yeah, maybe there's something that she was mad at me about before, and I had to go after her for validation and get praise and everything, and just keep showing up in a way. Um, I will share with you, if she will congratulate me to this day about everything, right? So and I'm not looking for it. Like, it's it kind of flip roles maybe where I'm kind of like guiding her, and so I mean, yeah, it could be a valid point, and I appreciate you sharing that and thinking about
Yeah.
it.
It could also be the opposite. That maybe you did receive a lot of validation from mom, and now you're with someone who doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, I'm still seeking that feeling that I got from mom, but you're not giving it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a coin toss, right? It really depends on that upbringing, and that's why I'm so evangelical to a certain extent that hey, as to why we want to improve relationships and help relationships, um, because again, pointing back to your story, do you have any older brothers or younger
No, I
brothers?
have it. My sister's 1 year younger. That's it.
Okay, so technically, because your dad was kind of away, right, and you technically they were separated, or you just didn't know. Maybe you were to a certain extent, your mom again subconsciously saw you as the man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And if her perspective was from her quote unquote husband at the time, maybe there was a negative view, right? It was one of those things where I can't really depend. Well, this guy is also disappointing me to a certain extent. Um, I mean, we was fighting that and so on and so forth. Again, it was a subconscious thing.
All right.
And I say that because I had to become the man of the house on my end. So if I didn't do something right, I got told off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean by tying it back to tired is, and also tying it back to like we're dealing with the same issues. It's not that we're dealing with the same issues, we're dealing with the same feelings again and again and again. And that's what we're tired of essentially. Again, going back to year 20, if she comes at me because she criticizes something that I do or don't do, I could be like, I'm tired because I've dealt with this ever since I was a kid because I was forced in a position to be the man of the house and so on and so forth. So I'm just like done.
Yeah.
And on her end as well, I if I don't do something that I don't know if she found that I wasn't protecting or again losing a job where it takes her back to a little girl and not having a man to depend on, which was her dad at that point. I can trust the man because she dealt with that a lot in our relationship. For me to be able to be in a position to lead her and guide her, and it was one of those things that we had to work on. But in the same token, like that's something that she can get tired of, right? It's a feeling that we're tired of because it takes us back to a moment in time. Yeah, we say this happened here, this happened here, this happened here, but the feeling we learned way back when. It's a feeling like I think through the ages of 2 to 7, that's when you kind of develop and learn everything. So you learn disappointment, you learn sadness, you learn XYZ, right? That's where quote unquote trauma comes from. Um, and then everything else is just developing. It's reinforcing those feelings again and again once you're past that age. So if your mom yells at you when you're age 15, you're feeling the same way that you did at age 5. But as a teenager, now you're like, I want vengeance.
Mm.
Yeah.
I want to stop feeling this feeling, or I want the same person to feel the same way that I'm feeling because that's the same way that I felt when I was 5. Um, it's just so many things that we have no idea can affect the relationship, and I'm one of those that I want to study relationships as much as I can, master them, so that I can prevent bad stuff from happening in our relationship. And if they do come across, how do we navigate through them as much as possible?
Great. That's
Oh,
good.
did you want me to say something? I'm like, both of you are looking at me like, yeah,
Yeah.
what are you gonna say? No, I mean, you did great, babe.
I feel like I'm a nerd for relationships.
Nerd.
He
No,
definitely is. Don't tell him it's true.
no, no.
I guess a question for you, and hopefully this helps the people who are listening, is what do you think is harder, working on your relationship or going through a divorce?
I I gotta say it's work. It's working on the relationship. I hate to say that, but I think there's a lot out there that people don't know. Like you and I were, and Brie, we're discussing this now. But if we didn't go through something, we probably wouldn't be looking at this, right? We wouldn't be talking this language, and you
Hmm.
guys wouldn't be trying to help others. I wouldn't be podcasting and trying to seek others, and helping them too in any way I can. That's hard. Divorce is hard too. It especially for somebody that doesn't want it, right? It uh, to put it in this frame, like I looked at it as I built an empire in a sense, right? I had
Hmm.
rental properties, I had the house, I had everything, and um, two kids and her, their mom at the time, and it's gone. Like it's just like stripped away. So
Yeah.
you have to start. I won't say zero, but it's most of the time it's like below ground level. You have to start somewhere else. And where do you begin? And that's a tough task too, navigating that course. But it's working on the relationship because for us, yes, we were young. Did we have these conversations? No, we didn't. Right? She saw her path for her career that she wanted to do. I saw my path. And I guess in a sense, we never really looked at it as, hey, how can we work this together? Besides the fact that we agreed that she would be home with the kids
Hmm.
when they're born and raise them that way. And then after that, we weren't really sure, right? Um, but going back, like, everybody goes, oh, what would you tell your younger self? Yeah, it's not me. I'm not my younger self anymore. So it's like, what would I tell my kids, right? And like, I want them to know this stuff prior.
Yeah.
I want them to, sit down and go, realize this is what could happen. This is how you can work things out. And it's not manipulating or anything like that. But and people take it the wrong way when you're talking like that. But it's about making things work. And you know, I don't know if this it's just so weird, right? I don't know if things were like this way back in the past. I highly doubt it. Yeah, I really do. Right now, we're at this age where like women are ahead of the men in a way, and we're butting heads, we're battling sexes, and it's not right. It's not right at all. And here we are talking about how
Yep.
they keep a relationship. Like, I don't see that in the past. If you could show me somewhere, great. I don't know where that is, but
I think the only relationship that anybody can point to when it comes to that is a relationship with God.
yeah,
The only reason I say that is because he's someone who's not physically there all the time. Maybe you feel his presence, right? Maybe you see his gifts, so on and so forth. But that is the only thing. And the reason I say that is because, yeah, there's no relationship in the past prior to maybe right now, and maybe from the exception of a few others, maybe in the past, there was no talk about like you need to communicate, right? And I say that because there's a story that I told in the podcast a while back of this American couple, a blonde spouse with, I believe, a Hispanic husband, and they went to India or a Middle East country, and they were visiting a Catholic church over there, and it was very run down. However, it was touristy. It was ancient, I guess, and there was a local couple there, a Middle Eastern couple that kind of drifted towards the blonde wife immediately. They were like, it was just a spectacle to them. To them, it was kind of like, I don't know, it was because I guess blonde people are not frequent over there or there's not as many. Um, and the guy, ironically enough, he was a relationship coach, or I think a relationship therapist, or just a therapist in general. And he saw how the what do you call them? The tour guides, I
Hmm.
guess. So we'll call them tour guides. There were a couple too, and they were kind of working on maintaining this Catholic church. And the therapist saw how the husband kind of threw the camera at her at his wife and said, "Take a picture of me with this blonde." To us in America is like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You're doing this in front of your spouse just because you see someone who's blonde, blue eyes, and to you it's attractive, right? And the therapist was like, "What are you doing?" He didn't call it out, but mentally. And then all of a sudden he sees the wife throw the phone to her husband and say, "Now it's my turn. Like you go ahead and take a photo with the blonde hair." And he was having a conversation with his friend, and he was telling him like, that's because they know that they can go through anything. Over there, it's not as free as over here. Meaning in the Middle East, there's restrictions on women, there's restrictions on men, and they've had to navigate that together. So they know that no matter what, a blonde woman is not going to separate them. Because one, on the side of the woman over there, it's like, well, he's my husband. I can't leave him. Maybe through due to religious obligation, right? Maybe also through benefit directly towards the women. It's more beneficial for me to stick with this guy, no matter what he does, compared to me kind of stepping away just because he took a photo with a blonde woman. It's one of those things and dynamics that have to do with culture and society, wherever you're at, that also affect the relationship. Over here, the divorce rate is high because, like you mentioned, women are ahead. They see the guy like, I don't need you, dude. I can go ahead and make much more money than you will ever be able to provide. However, the thing that I see it through is what is this costing? Not only us personally, but the culture, the society, humanity in general. Because without women, we can't. There's no other kids. Birth rate deployments, we go extinct because women are kind of self dependent. They don't need a man anymore. And with men, it's like, well, what if we just replace how whatever we were looking to get from a woman, replace it with AI? Right now, there's this whole thing of creating a girlfriend, so on and so forth. And it's like, well, she's validated me. I don't know if you've seen the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix. I think it has to do with that, where he falls in love with an AI. And yeah, it's just again, culture and society also tell a lot as to whether a relationship can work or won't work. And right now, because we live in a country which is the United States of America, there's a lot of free will that we have, right? She has the freedom to go ahead and cash in that check from the government and just live off of that to a certain extent, and then also my child support, and not have to deal with me.
Yeah.
She can do that, right? However, with that free will, the more free will we have, the more discipline we need to have. Because I can also get lost in other areas as well. I mean, it's biblical. Men, big men have fall into lust, and I'm not immune to that, right? And also, women have fallen into lust as well, and she's not immune to that. It's about having the discipline to coming together and knowing where is this building towards and what is the end goal. Um, but yeah, it's just crazy how culture, like going back to what you mentioned, that yeah, back then, back in the ancestral times, like there was no, let's talk.
Hmm.
Let's just get through the day.
Right.
I go get the food. You go to make sure you raise the child till they get to a certain age, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now it's about, well, all of that is taken care of. What now?
That's exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's connection. At the end of the day, it's connection with each other.
Yeah.
That was insane.
I know I go on these tangents sometimes. I'm like, yeah.
And then I'm such a visual person that I'm like picturing all of this
Yeah.
in my
Blonde.
head. Yeah, I'm like, wow.
She
Or
could have taken out like, what blondes are you watching?
Yeah. Yeah.
What blondes are looking at it?
oh,
How do you know she was blonde?
Yeah, man. Here we go.
that didn't even cross my head. What are you gonna say, Jonathan?
I don't remember now. I don't know.
I do have a question though,
Sure.
related to the last question. I know you mentioned that working on a relationship is harder than divorce, right?
Hmm.
Um, which one do you think has? Which one do you think has a more positive effect?
What do you mean by more
Whether it's
positive
working on
effect?
relationship or going to a divorce.
Well, the relationship would be more positive if you can get through it, right? Um, yeah, and kind of go back a little bit here. It's going through all of this and learning everything I know now, and I don't know everything. It definitely takes me on this course of what I want, right, and
Hmm.
who I want to be next, right, and how they're going to show up. And for the most part, it's probably going to be that person that went through something in life and they've navigated their journey and come out to go, okay, I know this, I know that now. So we're kind of on the same level, right? We're not going to be exactly perfect, but we'll be able to meet each other and go, wow, you're
Hmm.
doing this. This is awesome. I can follow that. Let's keep going. In a sense, you got this. Let's keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't see all of that back then. I didn't see everything I see now. So it's kind of hard to go back and change something that if I didn't know anything, I wouldn't do anything, right? And we never seeked help because we didn't know we needed help,
Hmm.
right? We only seek advice and stuff from friends, right? Or we see what they're doing and we kind of just mimic them.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like what they're doing. Let's just not do that. And we don't tell each other that. We just keep it in our heads, right? So I might not want to do something that I see somebody else to do, but she might want to. So she could choose, like, hey, let's go on this trip, and I don't want to, but we're going on the trip anyways. Not, and it's because she saw somebody else do it. It's not like, oh, but
Exactly.
there's no communication there. There's nothing. Um,
And that is a huge thing that I also kind of tell men is like you need to lead your wife and you need to be her number one influencer in life because now she's gonna find it wherever, especially with social media.
yeah.
The emotional part, right? The whole thing that hooks you is an emotion. God Almighty, are women connected to that as much, like to a
Hmm.
certain extent? Um, because yeah, if she's being led by social media, she's seeing what her friend is doing, and what her husband are doing, and she's trying to bring that. Oh, I want to feel that, right? Justified, cool, awesome. I know it's a great feeling to have, but she's trying to bring that into the relationship. Maybe at a point or season that it's not doable, then it's kind of like rejection, right? It's seen as rejection. It's felt as rejection.
Yeah.
It's like you're not able to give that to me. And if after some time that kind of keeps going on, it's not talked about again, not communicated expectations that leads to blank. Like one thing again, going to be vulnerable.
Here we
My
go.
wife has been saying constantly like, "I want to move to Florida." Now, to be fair, I brought it up in the first place. However, she's like going at it. So in the back of my head is like, if I don't give that to her, eventually
Hmm.
she's gonna want to find a Florida man that can give her that. Because if I'm not careful in doing what I need to do, right, as to lead her and guide her and be her number one influencer, and in a sense, I've been like, well, do you want to deal with crocodiles or gators, or do you want to deal with mosquitoes and all this stuff? Because it's, do you want to deal with hurricanes and the struggle of going through that? Um, so again, not denying or not saying no, but in the sense like, all right, let's go ahead and play it out,
Hmm.
right, and lead her to either say no herself, or for her to see like this is why not, or this is a why not right now, and we kind of meet in the middle type deal.
That didn't sound like in the middle though, because it's like, well, the
Yeah, at
answer's
that
still
point,
no.
Well,
it's not right now.
yeah, it's how can we make this work, right? If
Yeah.
you want to
Exactly.
make this work, how can we do it together? Like he's saying, like here's the examples of what could happen, but there should be an examples of what could happen in the positive sense, right? Why
Hmm.
why is Florida great?
Her
You know,
argument there is Disney. Oh, the Disney trips.
Disney. I thought,
No, like he makes a good point because like I honestly like on a daily I'm like, okay, what kind of reel can I send him to kind of push him to like yes, you know? But we did talk about it and he was like, "Hey, it's not no like ever forever. It's like you not right now."
Yeah.
And he explained why and it made so much sense to me. And I was like, yeah, like it's just a selfish thing that the reason why I want to move is because I love Disney. And I love being near the beach. I don't like getting in the beach because my biggest like nightmare is open water, but just being around it, just looking at it, feeling the waves, like it's just a selfish thing for me. It's not like there's anything out there for me. But I'm like I appreciate that he's like, hey, it's not no, it's just like not right now. It's not a good time, and I'm like, yeah, you're totally right. I'm just gonna keep poking at it, just
so,
so that in 5 years we're like, okay, maybe it is a good time now.
it sounds like a trip is needed just to feel it, right? And maybe that's all you need to get off of your chest for the time being.
Yeah. However, it's
Um,
kind of expanded in the view of, oh my God, it will be awesome if we live there.
right.
Because,
And let's navigate. Let's see. Okay, if we lived here versus this town, or whether you know what I mean. Like you're kind of looking for it. So just diving straight into it. That's that. You know, I don't know what you guys have done already to think about it, but that sounds like that's what it would be, like a vacation, or you're going on to another
Yeah,
event or something, and you kind of just look
yeah.
around, go see a realtor, you know, and go from there.
Yeah, and it's that communication piece that
Yep.
we work on. Because
Yeah.
I could have been a yes man. I was like, all right, we'll look into houses, and I'll just deal with whatever comes our way. But I'm one of those. Is the way that I kind of lead is by preventing as much as possible, uh, or preparing. One of the two.
Mm.
If it's something that can be prevented, let's go ahead and do so. If it isn't, let's prepare for it. Um, Preventing one, okay, if I were to say yes, we move over there. What if my income gets cut? Or even simpler, we won't have free babysitting anymore. We won't have people that we trust around us anymore. How is that going to affect our relationship with day nights? Who are we going to trust to babysit? And so on and so forth. Because we already know after a certain period of time, if there's no time by ourselves, it affects us. So we need that. We already know we need that, or we're sacrificing that just because we want to move to Florida. Uh, Another one is homeschooling. Can we homeschool over there? How does it work?
yeah, I looked it up.
Financially,
Covered.
financially speaking, is that doable for us to homeschool over there? Because if it isn't, then technically the kids have to go to public school. How is that going to transpire? Now you have to wake up early, so on and so forth. And yeah, all these things that I think about in my head, so like, okay, it's not a no, but let's go ahead and work through these things that we have now, because I'm a big advocate of let's add to what we have instead of removing to what we want to keep.
Hmm.
If there's stuff that we don't need, let's go ahead and remove it. Perfect, awesome. But if it's stuff that we want to keep, like her being a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling kids, so on and so forth, date nights, connection with our relationship, and XYZ other stuff, how can we keep that and then move it to where we want to go and actually grow it? And that's the mentality and mindset I work through those things. So that's why I tell her not right now because we haven't worked through that. We have these things going on, so let's go ahead and hold off on that for a bit, and then maybe eventually, if time's align. I'm not saying perfectly, but where it's more than doable, then we can go ahead and do
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening to our podcast, Jonathan.
No problem.
it. I think we kind of already touched on this here. You kind of touched on it, but if we can go a little bit deeper before we end the podcast, is when you were learning, right? When you were kind of getting better, the way that I see it, and this could be subconscious and it could be a different perspective, maybe from both views, is the reason why you went towards the Dad's Edge and listened to that podcast and kind of decided to be part of the men's group and buy, I think you mentioned a course or something along those lines, right?
Yes.
You were seeking something through there that you were not receiving in your relationship, right? Would you agree on that to a certain
Yes.
extent?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because I was not being told anything. I had to find things, right?
right. And maybe on her side as well is she was seeking something else that she wanted from your guys' relationship as well.
Mm-hmm.
That is, to me, that's a telltale sign as to like, hey, whenever you're looking elsewhere to look to get something that you're not getting in your relationship, you have to be very careful. Because you're technically being vulnerable, not in your relationship, and sometimes it works out, but sometimes it doesn't. Because if you receive it, you want more of that sugar, dude. When you get that sugar, you want to get it again and again and again. And instead of bringing it into your relationship, a lot of people kind of like, well, I'm only getting it over here, so I'm just gonna go drift more over there. So that being said, my question: is there something you needed from your partner that you wish they could have given to you?
Probably support.
Support,
Yeah.
and that's what you were getting from the men's group, right?
Well, no. I got support from them to help me figure out what the hell could be going on, right?
Yeah.
I I didn't have support as far as how do we navigate losing the job and like what are you doing? Like I'm backing you up. I do like what you're doing. Like there was nothing like where I was laying out. I was able to show, hey, this is what I'm doing. This, you know, who knows if she thought something else was going on in my end when it wasn't. Besides me just trying to build. Um, that's what I felt like I was lacking, and obviously there's stuff on the other side there for her, but uh, that's how I saw the men's all the thing with the podcast and men's group and stuff was just to help me mentally try to find myself because I was losing it. I was really
Mm-hmm.
losing it. The one guy just told me to breathe, not not to take every little thing that's been happening and stretch it out because you just start going crazy in your head and spinning. So like if I didn't seek that help with those men and just like message them and thankfully a lot of them just like message you right back, which was great. Um, and it wasn't for validation, it wasn't for anything like that, but just to feel like that you can get through it too because they've gotten through it. Or one guy told me, he's like, oh, you're going into a divorce. I'm like, what? And this was like 2 months before she said it, right? He's
Mm.
like, he's like, everything he studied and seen and stuff, he's like, I just no, I'm just like telling you, just be ready, right? And so like
Yeah.
that kind of opened the door too. Like, okay, the worst is that it's not death, it's not anything else, but the worst is divorce.
Yeah.
So uh, when I said support, it was mostly for help, be with me when we traveled this course, when we traveled this, rough storm that I might be experiencing. You are experiencing it another way because you're not seeing that I'm providing in the way I was always providing, prior
Mm-hmm.
to us even meeting and being together, right? So, and and the rental properties and everything were there, and it's just like that's what I felt like I was lacking. If I was to go back, I felt like that, and there was a total disconnect. Uh, I would say ever since I lost my job, in a sense.
Yeah. And the feeling I think is similar in the sense that yeah, the men were supporting you a different way. However, the feeling was still support, right? And over here, it's like, well, they can help me with that because technically my wife can't. However, over here, this is where you can help me, and this is what I need from you, and this is the support of helping me get through this and still see me to a certain extent the same way that you saw me prior to me losing my job, and not hold that against me, and supporting me what I want to continue with, which is this, because I still want to provide for you. I still want to be able to be there for you. And what I need from you is to support, right? And if that wasn't given, unfortunately, of course, it leads to what it led to. Um, but I think my wife can speak to that in that front to a certain extent. No?
Speak to what? The support. Yeah. Because, yeah, like,
The what if you're seeking something else outside of a relationship, and then bringing it in, and I mean, for guys, it's support from their spouse.
what? Say that again.
Speak on the support.
Of a wife supporting their
Yeah,
husband. Oh yeah, because I've done it since the beginning. Like, it's crazy because I at the beginning, like, I had a full-time job. I was a medical assistant, and I had
their own place.
my own place. My car was paid off. Like, everything was good. Um, and when he started working, he was like barely making any money.
Yep.
And he would spend like 12 hours at this place, and there was times where I would show up and
Yeah.
I would help. I would be there for hours with him. I would try to sell, which is like absolutely like something that I never wanted to do was sell.
Yeah.
Like, I would try to sell, I would wear the clothes, I would take pictures, like all of that stuff. And it finished, and then he went into something else, and then I would support that too. And then he did something else, and I would support that too. And I think what we lack as women is not just to support him, but that we don't see how you guys support us, right? Because, I mean, you said you guys talked about her being a stay at home mom with the kids, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that is something huge that not all couples accomplish. Like, a lot of couples feel like they cannot survive if the wife stays home. And you had that. Like, she had the capability of being at home, and that's like something that I'm always grateful for him. That he allows, like, not allows me, but allows that to be in our home, where he's like, no, like, you absolutely do not have to work, I got this. And he goes into really hard things, Jonathan. Like, he'll be like, I want to start a business, and I'm like, okay, I need to invest like $15,000, and I'm like, from where? But knowing that if he does it by himself, yeah, he can get there. But if I am there with him, like, I mean, you can see it as soon as I, like, joined him on this whole journey of, like, coaching couples. Like, we started getting all kinds of stuff,
Yep.
like a show, and then, like, people reaching out, like, can you coach us? And, like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where was all this when he was doing it by himself?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized it's like that support that they see that I have, like, that I'm giving him, makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Because you guys trying to do it by yourselves, like, you can do it, but like they always say, like, we're the neck. So imagine, like, your head, like, you're doing it by yourself, like, you're just like falling over.
With no neck.
But we holding you guys there with that support that we can give as women, as wives in
Yeah.
the relationship, like, is everything. And now women nowadays don't do that because there's, like, we're so concerned about our own thing, our own thing. Like, how do we reach the top of the whatever it is that we're trying to reach? Like, how do we get better? How do we get to the top? How do we become CEOs? How do we, like, do this? And then, like, our husbands just are like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard the term "it's lonely at the top," right? And
Yep.
yeah, if you make it alone, then that means you sacrificed a lot, including relationships, to get there.
Especially relationships.
Yeah. And I was going to speak to something that you mentioned, and I'm losing my train of thought.
Don't lose
I
it.
mean, you saw it you saw it at the event, right? At Surrender to Rise in
Mhm.
May. How different would it have been if my wife wasn't there and I was still speaking the same about
Very different.
relationship?
It's just one. It just be one male, one sex, right? And so you're trying to
Exactly.
talk to both sexes, And yeah,
Yeah.
so for instance, the coach I consider, he was more making relationships work, but he was more on the men's side because they're losing, right? And so he's trying to share, how men can show up and how women can appreciate the men, but it's kind of hard when it's just one person sometimes,
Yeah.
especially if you're talking to people that are married or they're dating or something, they want to get to marriage or something. You want both sides, right?
Exactly.
And you guys bring examples and everything to the table of what you're going through. You even spoke about stuff that happened yesterday and today, and like that's what people need to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
we're about to have that conversation after this
oh
podcast.
boy. Oh man, but yeah, so it would have been totally different if it was just one of you
Yeah.
stepping up and sharing something in front of that crowd.
Yeah. And that's why I see, how men are the ones who don't want to go to therapy, right? And so on and so forth. Uh, is because of that. Is they feel like if it's a woman, they're going to side with women. It's
Mhm.
just a subconscious thing that we have. And vice versa, and the opposite. If it was a man, if you, let's say, for example, you decide to go to therapy, however, the therapist was a guy, then the woman may feel kind of like cornered. And it's like, well, I can't really be myself because it's two dudes with testosterone. They have no idea about my experience. So that's why I'm so glad and so happy that my wife is on board because this makes it so much easier.
Hmm.
Uh, in the sense that, like, hey, it's the two of us. It's not just a guy or it's not just a girl. It's both of us together helping you all. And that makes a huge difference as well. Um, but yeah,
Anything that you wanna that we didn't talk about that you want to mention before we end the podcast so that we can,
and then
hear
with a
your
bang.
yeah.
I would just share, for me, like navigating through that, I worked on myself mentally. First, it was like the morning routine kind of deal. I had to meditate, write down what I'm grateful for, etc. Right.
Yeah.
And then, I worked on myself physically, hired a fitness trainer about 6 months later, a little bit after that, maybe. Um, and then, spiritually, like God showed up for whatever reason the past 2 years and started going to church. And, that's allowed me to open doors to a lot of things I didn't see coming. And then it was relationships and not intimate, but just like this, right? Talking to people and podcasting and stuff, getting to know people and help the world as
Yeah.
much as possible. And then I tell everybody my last one's business and finance. And I feel like I knew something would snowball eventually, right? And I felt like if I didn't set myself up the way I did, I wouldn't be in a good state of mind for how bad things could be, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I shared that because the way I did this, not to say that everybody has to navigate that course too. You get to choose, right? And you get to choose whether you're going to lay in bed and just cry and be depressed forever, or you're going to choose if you're going to get up and do something about it,
Yeah.
right? You get to decide. So I'm just sharing with you what I decided to do for whatever reason. Like that's just the way things just worked out. Uh, I had to think about how I was going to do this. And I had to realize that when I was 19, yeah, I might have been with her, but I was still by myself. I was living, I was still making paychecks and stuff, right? I was still bringing income. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I had to go back a little bit and say, if I did it back then, I could do it now. It's just going to be a little tougher, right? Because you have kids and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody can get through something. We all can get through our worst days, right? And um, and my light says we all get through 100% of our bad days, right? And it's true. So you might have a bad day today after your conversation. I don't know, but you'll get through it, right? Like
Yeah.
It
it's not,
always leads to a good thing, son.
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. It's not, right? And so like, stop making everything like a big deal and a big problem, and just like, hey, let's just let's just talk about it. And again, I hate to say communication a lot, but that's what it all comes down to. Even when you're sitting down with a stranger that you don't even know who it is, but you want to get to know them a little bit, like just open up a little bit and just have
Yeah.
the communication. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, this has been fun, and if hopefully people listening to this and watching this, they get something out of it, and they're always welcome to contact me for any reason if needed, whether it's relationships, podcasting, whatever, right? Um, but yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Tell us what you're doing with your podcast and everything. Do your
Yeah,
plug.
do my plug. All right. So my podcast is Life's Checkmark. People come on and they share their journey in life, no matter what it is. So I look for people that are authentic, real. They're going to be sharing honest, vulnerable conversations with me, and just see where it goes. Like that's what it's all about. And hopefully, people listening to it or watching it, they can, navigate their journey, whatever they're going through. If it's the same thing that the guest is sharing, they can see that somebody else has gone through it too. They can reach out to me, they can reach out to that person, they can reach out to somebody else that they know and know that they're not alone and they can get through this. So my mission is for each episode to hit that one person that needs to hear it or watch it. That's why I have the podcast. Outside of that, I have Podcasters Hub, where a bunch of other podcasters like myself come together, and I've been having special guests come in every month to share inside the hub of all things podcasting. There's a bunch of other stuff going on with that, and then I also help people start a podcast. Why do you want a podcast? Why have you stopped? Or, what's holding you back? And let's just get it right. There's a reason. I didn't start for 6 months after somebody said to start one, and
Mm.
you know I don't know if there was a reason I didn't start. It had to be what it was, but it allowed me to open up an opportunity for other people to say, look, if you want to do this, let's do this now. I've ran across people that have been wanting to do it for 1 to 3 years. They had all these scripts and they just didn't start, right? It's more, I think, of, the camera, the light, you know, um, the fear of being in front of people and sharing, yourself, you're being
Yeah.
authentic, right? So
Yeah.
I have that going on. So that's all at lifescheckmark.com for all three things. You can check it out. And Life's Checkmark podcast is on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and everything else. Wherever there's platforms, I don't even know what they are.
There's so many.
But yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Beautiful. Appreciate it, Jonathan. And everybody who's listening, go out there and support him. Listen to his podcast. And yeah, go give him a. You're on YouTube, right?
It's on YouTube, yes.
Okay. Go give him a subscribe and a follow everywhere he is.
I did.
Yes, we did.
I've listened
you.
to a few already.
There you
And
go.
they're really good. So thank you so much for being a part of this whole, relationship goals thing. I don't know how hard it was for you to talk about it, but I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And I
Yes, we do.
definitely know that this will help a lot of couples out there. So
It
thank
helped
you.
me a ton. So appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Of course. We'll see you all next time.
Bye. Cut.